بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين. اللهم ربنا أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم أرنا حقائق الأشياء كما هي ربنا زدنا علما وعملا وإخلاصا يا رب العالمين. اللهم اللهم انصر أولياءك في غزة وفي الضفة وفي فلسطين كلها وفي لبنان وفي اليمن وفي مشارق الأرض ومغاربها. اللهم فرج عنا وعن عبادك في غزة وفي الضفة وفي فلسطين كلها وفي لبنان وفي اليمن وفي السودان وفي ليبيا وفي مشارق الأرض ومغاربها يا رب العالمين. وصل وسلم على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Okay, so basically here, but the concept of matter, let's wipe some of our, so we can read it properly. So we are continuing from last one, from the last session. So, but the concept of matter, and you know what we mean by concept of matter here, is the whole array of things. Just summarize it. A concept of matter includes subject and object dichotomy. It includes empiricist, ontology, empiricist epistemology, and sort of Lockean ontology. I write Lockean ontology separately because that's not shared by other empiricists necessarily, even though they share his epistemology, at least his basic perceptions. And the supposition is that these three things were behind the worldview of the classical physics, mechanistic physics. Okay. So when he's talking about the concept of matter, he's talking about all these three things. So Kalam Iqbal is claiming that this concept of matter with all those three things has received the greatest blow from the hand of Einstein, another eminent physicist, whose discoveries have laid the foundation of a far-reaching revolution in the entire domain of human thought. Now, what type of obviously this is an exaggeration in many ways, so let's just talk a bit about it. Einstein's so the revolution he is talking about is in human thought. And not just within science. We know, so we know about scientific revolution itself. And we also know about revolutions within science. There are two different revolutions within science. And from Thomas Kuhn, for example, we know about normal science and revolutionary science. So Einstein's revolution, and it was a sort of revolution, but that was revolution within science. Wasn't a revolution at part with scientific revolution, which was a revolution within human thought. And was part of overall a civilizational revolution in transition from medieval Christian civilization to modern capitalist barbarism. So that's Lamigwal seems to think that Einstein's revolution is at par. If he thinks that it is a revolution within, or a harbinger of revolution within human thought, then he was obviously a bit too optimistic. Laid the foundation of far-reaching entire domain of human thought. So Einstein's revolution was, if it was a revolution, within scientific thought itself. So it was a revolution in the sense of normal science. But obviously, once Einstein's so-called revolution was incorporated within scientific thought, then it became a part of normal science. So once it becomes a part of normal science, then it's no longer revolutionary. And it also shows that it wasn't a fundamental change in thinking. And also, we should, about Einstein, because about Einstein and his theory of relativity, we should remember that with Einstein, we should also remember that Einstein's theory of relativity and his whole thought, although sometimes portrayed as revolutionary, and to a certain extent it is revolutionary within the scientific and physical normal science at the time, but and vis-a-vis Newtonian physics, it emerges from within German, Dutch, and related physics of the time. It was it was without German physics of the time, his contemporary and predecessors, it wouldn't have been possible for Einstein to come up with these theories. So he wasn't a revolutionary in the sense that he was creating something entirely new. And obviously, because Nazis tried to portray Einstein as a Jewish physics or something, that sort of racist stuff, people sometimes think that Einstein was a lone genius or anything. On the other hand, his whole philosophy is steeped in, his physics is steeped in German physics, and also in German philosophy as well, German, Austrian, and related philosophies. So, although Spinoza is important for his philosophy, but Kant is important as well. And Mach, for example, is very important. The philosopher of science for Einstein's way of thinking. So, in a sense, the whole Einsteinian theory of relativity is steeped in the physics of the day. So, in that sense, it's not a revolutionary in any fundamental sense. Okay. So, but the concept of matter has received a greater blow from the hand of Einstein and other eminent physicists whose discoveries have laid the foundation of a far-reaching revolution in the entire domain of human thought. There was a revolution within physics, no doubt, but as we know, Einstein's theory of relativity is part of normal physics nowadays, and no fundamental revolution in human thought has occurred as far as human thought in general is concerned, as far as civilization transition is concerned. Um, it might have, and it hasn't changed the so-called concept of matter in any fundamental way. And as we will see, Iqbal's so-called concept of matter with all its British empiricism and Lockean metaphysics, etc., is one justification for physics. There are other justifications, Kantian, Hegelian, etc. So Hegelian way of thinking, which Iqbal portrays here, is not in any sense revolutionary way of thinking outside the modern Western capitalist modernity, etc. Okay. Now his quotation of Russell is also then he quotes Russell obviously as a sort of illustration of this revolution. And firstly, Russell is a very minor figure when it comes to relativity and all these things. And this is a popular work, so it doesn't really supports Alam Iqbal's cause here that he is quoting Russell rather than some well-placed physicists themselves or the philosophers who have much more deeper insight into the going-ons in physics at the time. So, and it is from Russell's, I think it is from Russell's ABC of relativity, which the editor here gives the basic writing of Russell, so probably that is included in the basic writing. But anyway, let's see what Mr. Russell has to say. So, Mr. Russell, the relativity by merging time into space-time. So at the moment, we just focus on what is the actual revolution, which relativity, how does relativity paves the way for overcoming the concept of matter. So by merging time into space-time has damaged the traditional notion of substance as something solid. More than, well, we could say that quantum physics has done more to do that, which Iqbal would say as well. But here he is, I think, aiming to attack on his notion that Newton's notion of absolute space or space as a void was essential for this conception of substance, or conception of matter as a substance which was imperceptible. But I'm not sure whether it's actually concept of space is necessary for this conception of uh, uh, necessary for overcoming traditional notion of substance. And also, it seems that Allama Iqbal misconstrued with Russell, I guess, the notion about the abandonment of the absolute Newtonian space by physicists. Because even today, you know, you can't say that Newton's conception of space has been abandoned as such, because these are justifications. Um, Einstein's conception of space and Newton's conception of space doesn't make much difference to actual physical, actual workings of physics. And there is, at some level, Einstein's theory of relativity and his conception of space-time itself has some absolute references. And to think that Newton's conception of space has been abandoned is not true. And even in Newton's time, there were, rival conceptions of space and time, not just Einsteinians. For example, Leibniz's conception of space and time is different from Newton's, and Kant's conception of space, which presumably justifies or draws on Newton's conception of absolute space, is itself different from Newton's conception of space or empiricist conception of space. So these are justification, and these different theories can coexist, and there's no justification for thinking that these theories have been overcome without any fundamental revolution within science at the level of original scientific revolution. So we had revolution within normal science, but we didn't have any revolution since 18th century at par with the actual original scientific revolution, which was related to overall civilizational revolution. So we should take Allama Iqbal's assertions about and Russell's assertions about this damage to the traditional notion of substance with a pinch of skepticism, at least. Okay, but I think we'll stop here and we'll restart from Russell again. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وآله وصحبه وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.